live.
All right.
Thanks for coming along, Laurie.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a while since I've seen you
It's
last.
been a long time.
So, Laurie and I know each other from Dundee, of all places.
Yeah.
Seems to be the main theme with everyone that comes on here, is I
Yeah.
know them from Dundee at some point. So yeah, we've had cheers.
Cheers.
And yeah, thanks for coming again. And yeah, I've also had on your flatmate Josh as well.
Yeah, Joshy, yeah.
I didn't know he's been staying in Edinburgh. That's
Yeah, he keeps a low profile.
I know he's some lad.
He's
And
awesome,
yeah, so the reason I kind of invite you on here is obviously you've had like an interest in life so far. You know, you've kind of just followed whatever you felt like doing,
yeah.
and it's led you down numerous paths. I guess you could say that.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I think that was one of the things that anyone could say about you is that you just did what you were attracted to, whether it was going to the gym or or traveling or becoming vegan, I guess.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, all these things have kind of, I just do whatever my heart tells me to do at the time. And it changes a lot, I'm a very kind of, I'm a very sort of, I like to say the term open-minded, but I like to keep a way that I could just change my mind if I need to.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person who, and that's it, I like to sort of keep it moving, like my mind. Like sometimes I'll be really passionate and feel really strongly about something, and then I'll have a conversation with someone, and then my mind will totally change.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a different path.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to be like that instead of having this like one track mind,
Yeah.
And never seeing anything else.
We come from a place that the kind of norm is to sort of grow up and have kids and have a 9-to-5 job and not really experience the world, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I don't know if it's just because of the group of friends we each had, or that's something that we were attracted to in terms of just following, not going down that path, so to speak, because obviously I've done a fair bit of traveling, you've done traveling as well. And it's sad. Not that it's sad, like some people just don't, it doesn't interest them to go to a different country as much. Well, Spain, if you're from the UK, you'll go to Spain every single year.
For a couple of weeks, but then I think if that's what makes people happy, for me, that kind of organisation and those like package holidays and stuff, that's like hell for me. But for some people, that's what makes them happy. They like that organisation, they like that kind of routine, and that's fine. And I think that's why the world is the way it is because everybody is totally different.
Yeah.
But for me, I just like to just book a one-way flight and then just go. And I remember having a conversation with my cousin, and we were at my grandma's party, and she said, "Oh, so what are you doing when you get to Vietnam?" And I was like, I don't know. She's like, "Well, where are you staying?" And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, "Oh my god, what do you mean?" She just had a total like meltdown about it.
That's a typical grandma sort of question as well, like where are you going to stay when you get there?
Yeah, and I just had no idea. I just kind of rock up and then see what happens, So sometimes I'll book a little like Airbnb in advance if I see something, but usually I like to just go with the flow and sort of I do a bit of research, but like different people like different things, so
of course,
that's cool as
different
well.
strokes for different folks. 2 seconds, I'm actually having slight technical difficulty.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah, if you just pull that closer to you a wee bit, that would be fine.
No problem. Cool.
And yeah, it's all sorted.
Awesome.
That is like that package holiday to Tenerife is something that never appealed to me.
Yeah, same.
Have you ever been, actually?
I actually did. I got back from Australia. I'd been living out there for a couple of years, and my little sister had arranged to go on holiday with a friend, and something happened. I think her friend ended up like she couldn't go, and my mum was like, "You have to go with her." I was like, "Mum, I just got back from traveling like Australia, New Zealand. I can't go to Gran Canaria on like a club 18 to 30."
Yeah.
And but I ended up having to go.
Really?
Yeah, because then if I didn't go, my sister couldn't go. So my mum was like, "Please do it for me," and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Is that not the most sort of odd aspect about it? Is the 18 to 30 like?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, do you know what? Me and my sister, like, we kind of laughed a bit and stuff. There was a few phrases that we still say now that kind of, but yeah, it just isn't my idea of a
No.
holiday. Like, it's, you know, people like it. It's cheap and it works, and it's works for families and stuff as well. But for me, it's just, yeah, you already know what's going to happen, don't you?
Well, it's just, people call it Little Britain because you're going there to sit in the sun and have a fry up in the morning.
Yeah, get an English paper and that. But then it makes them happy, you know.
Yeah,
so.
Totally.
And that's totally fine. I think if it makes you happy, then it doesn't matter what it is. But yeah.
When did you start like realizing you wanted to travel more and you wanted to go further afield? Of course. I mean, what was the first sort of places you started going to?
My first kind of big holiday was Australia.
Right.
And I kind of went there because I had a few like shitty years in Dundee. Kind of wasn't really going anywhere, wasn't really fitting in with anything, and then I went to Australia with my grandma because we have some family out there.
Okay.
And originally I was supposed to just go for like 6 weeks, and I just didn't come back for like 2 years, and sort of begged my mum to like sort of put all my stuff into storage. I had a flat there, and I was sort of seeing this guy, and I had to like break up with him over the phone, and had to like hand my notice in over the phone, and just like quit life. I was like, Dundee, I'm done, and just left. And then, but
how did he take that?
Oh, it was fine. It wasn't anything serious. You know, I was young, so. But and then I just kind of like started living life over there, and that was what kind of opened my eyes. Was like coming out of Dundee and thinking, oh my gosh, there's like a whole other world. Like, people don't give a shit about me.
No.
And that's quite a nice feeling, because you get wrapped up in your little bubble of like that kind of small town mentality thing. And I definitely had that. You know, I was definitely stuck in this little bubble. But as soon as you go away somewhere, it just none of that stuff matters anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I got addicted to. Was kind of like just going somewhere new and no one knows who you are. You're just completely anonymous. And I quite like that.
Australia is probably a good stepping stone for that as well, because it's quite similar to the UK, but then is on that side of the world where you can go to Asia, you know.
Yeah.
It's closer than it is to here, obviously.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that, though. You know, they go to Australia and then they end up traveling further and go to Asia, and that really opens people's minds when they go there as well, you know, to see that different culture.
Yeah,
and
it's very, very different,
eat different, you know, food as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, just that, for me, it was like, it was just kind of leaving that idea that no one, when you get there, no one gives a shit about who you are. You know, and that's really humbling as well, because you do get wrapped up in your own bullshit, really. Yeah. And it's just really nice to kind of get away from that. I got addicted to that, so that's why I like it. I just like leaving. I like leaving places.
It's cool to sort of, I always feel that when people are sort of moving around and going from place to place, you feel like the people that you encounter and you are always at your best, you know, like you're always, there's never enough time to sort of figure out that, you know, people's inadequacies or their own sort of, you know, their shortcomings and their sort of their personality flaws. So when you move around, you still feel like everyone's on their sort of best behavior, and you're being like the nicest to each other. And it's a good feeling as well. But it's a shame that when it kind of starts to go away if you stay there too long. It's just if you could kind of bottle that somehow and just keep it for like forever like that. Just everyone's on their best and nicest behavior, you know, like their best form,
living their best life.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think as well, like, you know, that the normal generic conversations don't come up like, oh, what do you do? It's all like, oh, where are you from? And like, where are you going? You know, and it kind of opens up a different kind of conversation. And I love that, you know, like that kind of, it's never about the weather or anything. It's always like, you know, it's like those deep conversations that I crave. So I'm into that. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
I think because you get actual nice weather when you move somewhere else. If you're in Scotland, all there is to complain about is the weather.
I know. Scotland is so beautiful.
I know.
Like this is the first time I've lived in Scotland now for like maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. It's such a friendly place, and there's so much beauty in the Highlands, and the cold isn't too bad. Like, it makes you feel alive, but like I could never stay anywhere for that long.
No.
You know, I just always. But I think eventually Scotland will be somewhere I will eventually settle.
It's only been the last couple of years that I've explored Scotland more.
Yeah.
Just with my old job, I was driving around Scotland quite a lot, building teepees for weddings and festivals, and we were the only company that did it in Scotland, so we pretty much had the market cornered. So we did everywhere in Scotland, and we got to see everywhere. You know, it was awesome. Brilliant from coast to coast. Like the miles we did just for 6 months, because obviously it's seasonal because you can't have weddings in the winter, obviously, in Scotland, because England.
They're mental. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, if there's, you know, people in the Arctic getting married, then you could get them married here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But no, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, there is, and that totally opened my eyes up to parts of Scotland that I'd never seen before, or that I even knew existed. I thought I'd seen all of Scotland, to be honest, and I've seen like barely the scratch of it, you know, the scratch of the surface. Yeah,
it's funny because when you see these, like, because social media has been amazing for opening up like countries and things. Like, you never would have discovered places if it wasn't for like those drone videos and stuff that happen now. But I remember seeing some like videos of parts of Scotland and thinking like, that's incredible. Yeah, like it's like sort of Lord of the Rings meets the Caribbean, and like it's amazing. But it's just a bit cold sometimes. Isn't it? You've just got a wee fraction of time where you can actually get out there. But
I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but one of the things that sort of depresses me slightly about Scotland is when you go up north into the Highlands and you see the hills, but they're sort of barren as well. They don't have any trees on them, which they're supposed to, but because of the Highland clearances, you know, part of the sheep farming, they got rid of a lot of the trees. So you can't just, like, it won't grow there anymore unless you shield them. Yeah. But I think there's a woman I've been following her on Facebook. I think it's her and her husband, and they have a company. I can't remember, is it like Forests of Tomorrow or something like that? But they basically go out on the hills and plant, like, that's their job, and they do courses on it, how to plant like trees, you know, just keep planting. Oh, cool. And I think our goal is maybe just to cover part of the Highlands.
Get it back again. Yeah.
Because it's, although it's beautiful, there is a sort of bleakness to it as well when you see it, and it's kind of sad when you think about the real reason why it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I guess it's just that whole system thing, though, isn't it? It's like humans have just come in and we've just like, and we can take that far. You could take that as far as like the Amazon jungle. We're just destroying the lands everywhere. Like
numerous amounts of football fields a day. You know,
soy production.
It's crazy.
To cattle, which is madness. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, I just think we just keep chopping things down and just using the resources too much. Yeah. At what point do we turn around and say, right, that's enough? Like, it's going to be too late, isn't it? It's already too late, I think. Like, the way the oceans are. And
well, they say we have to act now to have any sort of effect on what's happened. Like, we'll never sort of be able to recover completely, I think.
We've taken way too much.
But there is, if everyone sort of gets together and acts now, I mean, I think there is a shifting point.
There is, yeah.
I think with the internet, I think that's kind of opening a lot of people's eyes to things, and I think people are starting to be more conscious of what they're doing with their waste and so on.
And what they're eating as well. Yeah. Because that's like a big factor as well. Like, you know, that's one of the main reasons for so much of the stuff that's going wrong now is the animal agriculture. And but I mean, I read an article just yesterday saying that, like, I think it was 500 million fewer animals last year were killed. Right. Which is a massive number. Yeah. But when you compare that to
I know this is something that you'd probably bring up as well, because you're a vegan, aren't you?
I mean, I hate I hate labels. Like, I hate them so much. I hate, like, I don't buy any animal products. Right. I'm the kind of person that, like, when I do travel and I work in these orphanages and things like that, like, sometimes I'm brought a cup of tea with milk in it. Yeah. How do you say, like, I'm vegan? Yeah. You know, it's like, it's quite difficult.
How does that translate? You know.
Yeah. So sometimes you just have to drink the tea, and it doesn't feel good because I don't usually eat dairy. And like my wee granny, for instance, sometimes she'll like bake cakes. Like, I made you this cake, and it's got like butter in it. Yeah. So like, I kind of have like certain boundaries and stuff. You know, sometimes it comes between like that heart and the head kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I don't buy any animal products. Yeah. So I don't eat meat and I don't eat dairy.
That's I mean, it's. I was going to tie this into what I was speaking about with the sort of forest. I guess, like, because there is no sort of woodland as much as there was, there's less sort of indigenous animals as well, especially big ones like wolves and all this, and, you know, like boar and all this thing that could be hunted, you know, naturally. And so there's nothing. I would eat more meat if I could hunt it myself, you know. Yeah. I don't eat that much meat. Like, I was like a veggie / vegan for a couple of years. Okay, cool. And the reason I was eating like that is because the girlfriend at the time, she was solely vegan, and she knew how to cook properly for herself, and she would always get the nutrients that she needed and whatever. She just felt like and she was a great cook as well, so she knew how to make the things like without even having to think about it. And my experience was, I don't know, it's a hard one. Like you say, it's hard when you're in situations where you don't want to feel like you're being sort of rude, but having maybe a moral standard is that more than, you know, it doesn't matter when you're being rude if you're just thinking it's for a higher sort of purpose.
Yeah, there's a line though, because I would never eat an animal. Like, you know, if someone made me dinner that had chicken in it, I'd have to say, like, I'm really sorry, I can't eat that, you know. But there's been points over like the last 5-6 years where there has been those tiny amounts of dairy or you know, something like that. It's not often though, it's very rare. But I think the thing for me is like, we live in a society where we don't have to eat these things anymore. You know, there's an abundance of food now. If you like go into a supermarket, there's like one meat aisle and one dairy aisle. The rest of the supermarket can be eaten, you know, and like played around with. And so I think you know, it's really, you can't say everyone in the world should be vegan, because there's tribes in the jungle and there's, you know, the shamans and things that I know that like have to fish and stuff, and like for me to say that they should be vegan would be completely unfair.
But they're also living a sustainable lifestyle,
and the way that they fish, you know, they sort of, the way that they ask the universe for the fish and the sacrifice and the thanks and all that, we don't have any of that. You know, it's this mass produced kind of factory farmed meat, and it's like, it's some, you know, it's, I think we're killing something like 56 billion animals a year. Like, that's a mass genocide. You know? And it's no wonder that there's just so much things like depression, anxiety. You know, we as humans, we feel everything, and so if all those animals are constantly being slaughtered every week, then it's going to have a massive effect on all of us, like if it's going into our system, you know.
I mean, that's probably the thing I at least sort of like, is the factory farming side of things.
Yeah, it's horrific.
And I think that's something that needs to change, obviously.
Totally, yeah.
But what is the answer though? Because there's so many of us, no matter what lifestyle and what sort of diet we choose to have, it's going to have an impact on the environment, no matter what.
I agree, and I actually, more and more every day, because, you know, I live in a city, so usually in the summer all my food comes from my friend's farm in Fife, and I just eat all I eat apart from that is maybe lentils and stuff like that. But, you know, like at the moment I'm having to shop in things like Sainsbury's, and even though I'm buying like organic vegan food, my money is still going to Sainsbury's, who buys the meat from. So I still live with this guilt of, you know, it's very difficult. And, you know, there's the thing with all the avocados now, you know, it's like, but it's like everything has guilt attached to it. And I'm also trying to live like a completely plastic free life now as well, but it's just so hard. I think you just have to do the best that you can, and there's no reason that we need to eat meat, and dairy's even worse.
That's the one
dairy cow is like horrendous, so we don't have to do it. So if we could cut it down or cut it out, it would just make so much difference.
I think that's a good point. What you're saying there is, you just have to do the best that you can do within your situation as well. And I think when you start attacking people for how much they're doing compared to you, that's when it's going against why you're doing it in the first place. You know, you're doing it so you're not being a shitty person, you know. Don't then be a shitty person to another human because they're doing as much as they can, you know.
I have to remember as well, like I used to eat a lot of meat, so I also came from a place where like I didn't know before. I had no idea what was going on. I really didn't. And I've been that angry vegan before, and all it does one of two things. It makes people like hate vegans, or you might inspire someone, but the best thing to do for me is to just educate and inspire. And like, you know, I work with clients every day, and we do have these gentle conversations, and they'll come back to me and say, oh, you know, I've cut out cheese and milk since and that's a much better way to go about it. It's just like trying to help people, guide them towards more of a vegan lifestyle, because if you come at them with this aggression and these like horrible images, you're just going to make them like back away and sort of never want to talk to you again. And I've been there, and you know, everybody's different. There's different ways of activism, and some people like are really quite aggressive about it, and it works for them, but you know, I just I don't like that argument, because it just goes against that kind of piece that we're trying to achieve.
It's the same with what people need as well in terms of their diet. There are people who can live a vegan lifestyle their whole life and be fine, but there are people who they need sort of like there's people with medical conditions that can only eat meat. There's like the really rare ones, but all they eat is raw red meat.
Oh wow, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's I can't remember exactly what it is, but it is like rare conditions. These are like not like across the board in any way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name, but yeah, all they do is eat raw meat, and that's it. No vegetables, no carbs, anything.
Horrible.
and it's raw as well.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess if like, you know, if those people that are for being a meat eater, like that's how you would naturally eat meat then, is raw. You know, like if you talk about cavemen and stuff, they didn't have a frying pan and some like olive oil. They would just have to, you know, eat it for survival.
Yeah.
So it's very different, but I think we've evolved and we don't really. If you ate some raw meat, you'd feel sick. You know.
Well, our stomachs are not designed anymore for that.
So we shouldn't. Cooking it changes things as well.
They have medical conditions though.
Exactly.
And the same with like ketogenic diet. Some people can thrive on that, and some people feel just terrible no matter how long they do it for. It's just some people need carbs, and you know, some people need meat. Some people can lead just a plant-based diet, and some people are mixtures. You know, I think but when it affects so many animals in a way that's sort of inhumane, then that's when we should question what we're doing. Yeah, obviously.
Course. And there's, I honestly believe that we can get everything that we need from a meat-based diet in a vegan diet.
Yeah.
You know, there's many ways to get omega-3 and B12.
Yeah.
Like I know some meat eaters that are deficient in things like, you know, iron and stuff.
Well, of course.
There's not even iron in some of this meat we're eating anymore, because the cows ain't eating grass. They're eating like, you know, they're eating weird soy pellets now. So.
Well, it's like those guys that go at the gym and they want to know which supplements to get before they even change their diet, before they clean up their diet. Like if you clean up your diet and then you want to buy supplements, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
you know,
we shouldn't even need that kind of stuff. We can get all of it from food.
But if you're saying like when you're complaining about vegans or vice versa, if you're not got your diet on point, then you can't really say anything, you know, about tweaking it and not eating that way. You know, you're not even living that way either.
Yeah, totally.
But then, you know, who's right and who's wrong?
Well, I think, you know, I've been on both sides of it. I've been a massive meat eater and I've been vegan, and I you know, I thrive on a plant-based diet personally. And I did used to feel really like shit in the past when I would eat meat. I'd get a really bad stomach and I just wouldn't feel good. So for me, cutting out meat was so easy. And I'm really squeamish as well. So like, even my mum used to make stuff and I'd be like, oh, there's a bit in there. Yeah. You know, so for me it was super easy. But I
didn't eat any meat until I was. It wasn't that I was purposely trying to be vegetarian. Yeah. I was so fussy when I was younger. Really? All I would eat was potato waffles, super noodles, and beans, like things like that. Just nothing that had any meat or substance in it. And then when I got older and I started going to the gym, that's when I forced myself to eat a lot of stuff. Right. And then eventually I just started to like a lot of vegetables and a lot of meat as well. I
really admire, I'm quite jealous of those people that have been vegetarian since birth. You know, they've never had a sort of morsel of a dead animal in their body. Yeah. I think that's amazing.
But can that truly be like though? Because we know how many animals are sort of scooped up in different farming implements, especially with like vegan. You know that there's bugs and like where do you stop?
Well, you wash your fruit and veg. I mean, there's probably like the tiny, but that's different to eating a hunk of a cow, isn't it?
But if you take in like I think it's corn or any farming production, you'll take up mice and rats in your machinery.
Yeah, of course. I mean that's.
But you're not. Like to say that you're completely not eating anything like that is sort of disingenuous. Not you, but I mean like. But if you're aware of that, then it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
I've definitely eaten some like mini tiny flies with like, because like I said, I got all my fruit and veg from my mate's farm, and sometimes there is. Yeah. You can wash it, but there's going to be something in it. So yeah, but like I said, you just have to do the best you can. And we are in such an like we're so spoiled here in the West. Like we've got so much abundance of food that we can really all like, you know, do so much better. Yeah. And I think that's the key. And I think it is changing. Like I see there's a lot of vegan restaurants in Edinburgh now, and they're always packed when I go in.
Like that was the first one I ever went to, a proper vegan restaurant, was in Edinburgh. I think it was Henderson's or.
Oh yeah, that's like posh.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't believe there's an actual restaurant dedicated to like being vegan. This was like 5 years ago. Yeah. And I was like, this is crazy. I mean,
Definitely.
it was good.
Yeah.
Like I would go there a few times. I loved it
Have
actually.
you been to Paradise Palms?
No. Oh yeah, I think I have. Is
It's
that
like
the one
vegan
with?
junk food. It's amazing.
Is that the one with all the stuff on the roof?
Yeah, it's like kind of like a Miami kind of
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah,
And it's got like teddies on the
yeah.
stuck to the roof for some
and, like,
reason.
loads of neon
Yeah.
lights and that. But they do like this vegan kind of soul food, like, they do,
Yeah.
like fried chicken. And it's just like, I mean, I would never normally eat that kind of stuff
Yeah.
anyway, but it's just really good to be able to have that as well.
Yeah.
And it's good. Sometimes take like my friends that eat meat there, and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." So you know, it can be a bit different.
I mean, I could quite easily do veggie tomorrow. You know,
Yeah.
I'd still probably eat eggs. I mean, I don't see a problem with eggs. The farming side of it, different story, obviously. But
Yeah.
my dad has eggs, so I get my eggs every morning from him. You know,
Okay.
he has his own chickens,
Okay.
not his own eggs.
He's got his own eggs.
He's got his own ovaries.
Oh.
He harvests them. Yeah, he has his own chickens, so that's where I get my eggs from every day.
Yeah.
And I would probably I'd probably pescatarian because I'd still eat fish. You know, I love fish, but
I love fish too, but
that's
I just
the
choose
hard
not to
one.
eat it. The thing
Yeah.
is, I think it's funny as well because so many people say like, as a vegan, oh, that's such a shame, you can't have that. It's like, no, I can.
Yeah.
I just choose not
Yeah.
to. You know, I used to love eating steak and
Yeah.
fish and things like that, but my compassion just is
Yeah.
larger now.
Well,
and I
more than
can't.
your,
I feel so guilty. Remember, like, recently I ate fish because I was really ill. It wasn't recently, but maybe 4 years ago I had some fish and I just cried when I was eating it. It was like, what am I doing? I don't need to do this, you know? So
I mean, that is, it's a tough one because it's like, again, where's the bar for what is classed as sentient and what is not, you
Yeah.
know? And there's science. Sorry, and there's science to say that plants feel things as well. You know, there's so many.
I love this though, right? Because like, say if I brought a cucumber and a puppy in
Yeah.
here, and I said you have to slice one,
Okay.
which one are you going to cut? You're going to cut the cucumber or the wee puppy? You're going to slice the cucumber.
I'd tell you to bash the puppy with the cucumber. No, I wouldn't.
Feelings
I
too.
love
I know.
puppies.
But that's the thing. I get that argument a lot. Like, you know, plants have feelings as well. It's like, yeah, they do. They have like a root system, but they
Yeah.
don't have like a central nervous system.
Yeah.
They don't drip blood. They don't have a heart that stops beating. They don't have like children that they love and care for and
Yeah.
stuff. So there's a massive difference. I understand the argument why people try to
Yeah.
put that on the same level, but it's not
Okay.
the same.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, plants are amazing. Like, they have like, you know, there's loads of cool stuff goes on with them. But
Yeah. Of course.
the reason, and the other thing is that plants give off their fruit and stuff to be eaten. If they just get left, they rot and they die.
Yeah.
So obviously, us eating them is better. But
Yeah.
you know, a cow could live for an extra 20 years, but we just decide when it dies. So it's different. That's different.
I think that's one of the sort of most heinous thing that I've seen is probably the dairy farming side of
It's
things,
brutal.
and pig farming too.
Yeah,
Because I think pigs are so intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not putting them on a scale. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
that.
no,
I'm
they
not.
are.
I'm not saying cows are less. You know,
Yeah.
like they're not less or more important than pigs, but pigs are highly intelligent, and
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
them what they go through is crazy in these farms as well.
Yeah.
Knowing what they can feel, and they're almost like 3-year-old kids
I
supposedly.
know. Yeah. And the dairy industry for me is like, it's worse because, you know, these cows are for their whole life. And some people don't even know that. I was speaking to a client the other day, and she didn't even realize that for a cow to get pregnant,
Yeah.
give milk, it has to be pregnant.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the same as us.
Well, they're made to be pregnant. Well, they're
They're
kept sort of pregnant all the time,
they're
so
kept-
they can
Yeah, they're sort of like artificially inseminated.
induced by
with-
chemicals and all
and
this,
like
and
these-
antibiotics,
yeah,
and
and then they keep them pregnant, and then they kind of, once they have the baby, if the calf is a female, the calf will have the same fate as the mother.
yeah,
If it's male, it just gets killed there
Yeah.
and then. Sometimes they'll even go as far as like taking the calf out of the stomach before it needs to be born, because they need to get the milk.
Yeah.
And so these cows are just getting their kids taken out of their womb every single, like,
yeah,
you know, their whole life, and then when they can't do it anymore, they kill them. And it's so fucked up because they don't kill them and use the meat and then the leather. They just, everything gets discarded. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even like we're using each bit of the animal, which wouldn't be okay anyway. But the leather industry and then the animal testing industry and the meat industry, they're
Yeah.
not even connected. So there's like 56 billion animals a year being slaughtered. That's way too many, in my opinion.
and probably most of them are dairy farming. Probably, I
brutal.
guess.
And, you know, even, I know you said you eat eggs from your dad, but even like the egg industry, like male chicks are just shoved in
Yeah.
a grinder.
Yeah.
Who even thought to do that?
I know.
It's like,
that's probably,
barbaric.
yeah. And that goes on. What's kind of really disgusting is the fact that they made laws to stop you from filming in these places that make the like the production lines for animals as well. I mean, they have gag orders for people so you can't release videos, and that's scary, you know, because that's information that should be out there, and it's your choice to watch it, and then whether you choose to eat or not, you know, milk or dairy or, you know, meat or anything like that, then that's your choice based on the facts that are there. But when you're taking those facts away from people,
and you're
that's scary.
Yeah, and that's like, I kind of feel annoyed because I've been brought up, I mean, not that my mum and stuff knew, but I mean society, like I've been brought up to think that that kind of thing is okay. And then when I got to an adult and realised, I felt like, God, I've been lied to my whole life, you know. And there's a really good quote that's like, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, like everyone would be vegan, and it's true. And I think like if you watch like Earthlings and Cowspiracy and What the Health, and you can still watch all of them and eat meat after it, then that's a different story. Then you're talking about, you know, arrogance and things like that. But I don't know, I just think we're so lucky in the society now. We've got an abundance of food that we can eat, and we don't have to contribute to that anymore. Like we don't have to.
It's definitely a sort of what you've been brought up into when the older generation, obviously. I mean, I know people that still look at me funny when I say I don't drink milk. Yeah. You know, I still don't drink milk. Good, it's not something I enjoy. I've never enjoyed it. Yeah. And the idea of it always freaked me out. You know, just I always had this weird feeling that something was going to like pass my lips when I was down in it, and I was like, this is like weird to me. So and they just look at me like I'm strange, and it's like, you need milk, and I was like, well, maybe my mother's milk over up to a certain age, exactly. But if you're having a healthy diet up until that, after that, then you shouldn't need, you know, milk. Yeah, and I think it's weird because like sometimes like you would never ever drink the milk of like another animal. Like if someone was like, oh, here's like dog milk, or like, you know, people would turn their nose up at it, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? Dog milk. People drink, but, you know, people drink cow's milk like it's normal. Yeah. And it's I mean, I guess at one point maybe someone would have needed it to absolutely survive, you know, maybe whatever happened, but we don't need to be drinking that now. It's just, and the stuff that's pumped full of like antibiotics, and there's this antibiotic epidemic where people are immune to them now because there's so much of it in the milk and in the meat. So we don't need it all. It's scary times with that, you know. The saying that you are what you eat is completely true. Totally, you know, even if you're eating junk or meat or whatever, it is sort of it represents what you are. You know, I guess, and whether you know it or not, that's exactly what you put in your mouth is, you know, that's what you are, I guess. Yeah. Do you know, it's a funny thing. Like so I'm a hairdresser, as you know, and like, when I'm blow drying people's hair, I can tell if they eat a lot of meat. Right, I can smell it when it's weird. Like, so when I've got the hot heat on their head, are you just like, I can smell meat. It's so gross. And like, I could smell like pork from their pores and stuff. Yeah. It's just, and you can tell you don't really need to eat that much meat. And I think the problem is as well is that people are eating meat with every single meal now. Yeah. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's so far away from where we were before. You know, even if you want to talk about cavemen and whatever, an animal would last months. You know? But it's just way too much. It's all now. Grains and legumes and plants and seeds and nuts. And it's all good, all the good stuff. You know. Yeah. But a lot of those things that are good for you is counterintuitive to what people have been taught for so long. You know, we've been taught that, you know, that index, you know, the pyramid, it's always like bread, cheese, milk is on there. You know, that's what the people from, you know, all the way back into the 50s were taught was right. And that's counterintuitive to what we're now told. We're told that sugar's really bad for you. I know. Fat's good for you, you know, and that you can live without meat as well. And that's doesn't make sense to a lot of older people. Yeah, because when I talk to my grandma about this kind of stuff, she's just kind of like, what? You know, and to be fair, my grandma doesn't eat a lot of meat. Yeah. And I've been like vegan for years, and I'll still go to her house. She's like, you want a cheese and ham toast? And I'm like, no, I don't eat that. But she doesn't really eat meat. But my grandfather just cannot understand. Like, I made a pot of soup, and he's like, what meat have you got in there? It's like, there's none. And he wouldn't eat it. He wouldn't eat it though. He just wouldn't eat it. It's the principle. He's like, I'm not eating that shite. And I was like, what? Probably if he'd eaten it as well, like without you telling him, he probably would have enjoyed it.
Yeah. I should have said, oh, it's something, yeah. He just refused to eat it because there wasn't any meat in it. But that's like, you're right. They've come from a generation where they were told, like, you have to eat this as part of your diet.
Yeah.
So it's just like, we've just got to relearn and re-educate.
Yeah.
And it's work, you know, I could definitely see it changing.
Yeah, I think maybe not people going down more of the road of being vegan, but I think definitely the sort of mass factory farming and the sort of abuse of the animals is going to definitely, you know, it's going to, I don't know, it's going to send these companies under, I guess, at some point, because it's not, it's completely inhumane, you know.
Yeah.
We complain.
How do you humanely kill an animal? So, like, if you talk about even people that say, like, okay, so say you have your own cows.
Yes.
How do you humanely kill it? There's no way.
I guess. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to eat like a cow that's, you know, from a farm.
Yeah.
I would rather hunt my own meat, which is pretty impossible in Scotland unless you want to eat rabbit all the time, which I don't like rabbit. I'm not a big fan of it. So I don't know, that's not something I would choose to hunt is cattle, you know.
Yeah.
But
there's no humane way to kill any living being.
No.
So, you know, that kind of argument, well, if we do it humanely, there's just no way. So there's not...
well, there's always going to be an element of that, you know. Yeah. But what's different from that to people in the Amazon who do that, and sort of there's a ceremony about it, you know, and there's sort of, they understand where this animal's come from and why they're killing it and what it's going to mean for them and their family.
Yeah. That's survival though. Like, we can't... You know, like, I remember my shaman saying to me at some point, like, you know, if you come to live in the jungle with us, because I've, you know, been, you know, we get asked to go over there, you know, you'd have to eat fish.
Yeah.
And, you know, because there's not that much else to eat.
Yeah.
But the way that it's done in a totally different way. I reckon I'd still be able to survive off fruit out there anyway, but, like, you know, just, it's very different. Yeah. You know, it's very, very different the way, and, like, if they're going to die because they can't fish or whatever, then that's different. But, you know, we have such an abundance of vegan food in this society that we live in, so there's just no really excuse, I don't think. But, you know, I just think you have to do the best you can. And I think you have to educate yourself as well.
No,
like,
totally.
Not just for the animals, like, what about your health? Like, do you want to be putting that stuff in your body? Or, because that's going to make you ill eventually. Like, now we've been told that things like bacon is linked to, you know, it's like carcinogenic, it's like linked directly to heart disease. Yeah. So, like, for your own health as well. Yeah. You know, I say drinking a beer.
I'm trying to, like, curb the bacon. I don't eat much bacon. I usually eat turkey bacon. But, like, pulled pork's, like, one of my things that it's hard to, like, when I see it on a board somewhere, and I'm just like,
Have you tried the jackfruit version?
Yes, I have, actually. It's really tasty.
Have you tried, like, a really good one?
I've not made it myself. If I could make it myself...
I'll give you a recipe.
Right, okay.
I'll even, like, give you the ingredients.
Okay.
It's incredible. I've never actually tasted pulled pork in my life, but I took it into work one day, and a couple of my workmates were like, holy shit, that's, like, amazing. So, you know, try it. You might like it, and it's way more healthy.
Well, I think I'm going to have to knock the head on it, obviously, because I'm going to get... Well, the plan is to get a micro pig at some point. Because I think they're just, like, amazing. Like, they have so
cute.
much character to them. It's crazy. Yeah. So obviously we can't eat any pork in here when we have that, because it'd be
imagine that at the human level, like, you know, you're just frying up some human in the kitchen. It's just weird.
And we're not allowed to call it any sort of ironic names like pork chop.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, I think definitely people are starting to realize now, again, with the power of social media, we're in this sort of age of information, so we're starting to find out a lot more, and people are starting to take charge of their own health as well, because for so long you're kind of, it's indoctrined in you that, like, meat's good and all this, and people are like, actually, you know what, it's not, and I don't want to put that in my body. So it's good that we now have the information that we need to be healthier as well.
I've known a lot of people that have changed their diet, and I think it comes from when they start to question things like where their meat or anything like that's coming from, and I think they ask themselves, would I be able to kill this animal for my own survival? No. Yep. So then why should I continue to eat meat then? It's not fair. And they've changed numerous people that I've known that have done it have changed their diet drastically to be vegan because they just couldn't see themselves killing an animal. So why then pay someone, like you say, to kill? Yeah.
But the thing is, it's so removed from, you know, we see this piece of like meat all packaged up in this like pretty packaging, and then, like, it's so far removed from the suffering. And also, like, I believe in that kind of energetic, you know, thing that goes on. So, you know, when these animals are sent down this, like, you know, this queue to get slaughtered, they're seeing all these animals. They're hearing the screams. Like, if you watch some of these, like, you know, slaughterhouse footage, you could see it, and they see what they're going to. So they're in fear and anxiety, and then they get killed, and then you're eating that flesh, which has already been dead for 4 weeks. So it's like, I just feel like if you're eating that all the time, you're just constantly putting that bad energy into your body, you know, the anxiety and the death and the depression and all the fear and all that. It's no wonder so many of us live with, like, anxiety. Like, the social sickness that we all have.
It definitely is going to have an effect, I guess.
Think so. I mean, like, people roll their eyes at me all the time. I think like,
whether it's karma or not, or spirituality, I think there's definitely something physical happening to that meat when it's stressed like that, and it's definitely going to be in the taste, and it's going to have some sort of effect.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, even energy-wise, like, sometimes if someone walks into a room and they've got, like, a really amazing presence, and stuff, you can feel it. So it's that kind of same vibe. Or same as someone, you know, if they're really depressed, they've got this really dark energy around them. You could feel that, and it's heavy. So, like, if, you know, I think for me as well, I don't want to be involved in that.
I think people are going to be screaming at their headphones just now because we're talking about veganism. So we'll probably move on to, like, you eventually went to Nepal, is that right?
Did,
like, when did you, when was the first time you went to Nepal?
Do you know what, Dan? I'm really bad with, like, I'm not one of these, I really envy people that are like, oh, in 2015 I did this. I went a few years ago.
Okay. Everything's a few years ago.
Everything's a few years ago, because I've just got no concept of time, because I'm just always moving around. Everything's just, like, rolled into one. So a few years ago I went to Nepal, and I went on my own. I didn't really know why I was going. So what sort of, why did you, what was the thing in your head that was like, I'm going to go to Nepal? There was a couple of things. Like, I met a guy that I was kind of seeing, and he kind of first talked about Nepal, and I'd never really thought about it or anything. And so that was the first kind of thing. And then it kept just popping up in places. I was living in London at the time. And then a guy that was my tattoo artist had said to me, oh, we're going to Nepal in April, like, for this tattoo convention.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll just go. And in my head, I was saying to myself that I was going for the tattoo convention, but I just knew there was, like, I wanted to go out there and do something. You know, I wanted to go out there and do some volunteer work or some relief work or something like that. So then, kind of, I went on my own. Found myself.
How was it?
It was mental.
Yeah.
Like, total culture shock, because, like, I'd been in lots of places like Australia and New Zealand, and, you know, but I'd never been to a third world country before. By myself as well. I got there and I was like, what am I doing? And it's crazy, but it's there's a level of happiness there that, you know, we just don't have here. So anyway, I'd sort of got there, and I'd spent a bit of time with locals, and I went to the tattoo convention, and then sort of was by myself, and sort of the last week that I was there.
And this was in Nepal? Yeah. There was a tattoo convention
it's a really
in
good
Nepal?
One. It's a really good one. Yeah, there's loads of awesome artists.
All right, okay. I thought you were saying London for some reason, but no, like...
It was in Nepal,
right.
So it's like the Nepal tattoo convention. It's quite a popular one, actually.
Yeah.
So I went there, and actually I got tattooed there from my tattoo artist. And then the convention was over, and everyone sort of dispersed, and I was just there, and I was like, right, I'm here to do something. I'm not really sure what it is. And I'd been emailing people, like, saying, like, you know, my hairdresser, can I come and volunteer?
Right.
Like, no one was getting back to me. It just wasn't really going anywhere.
In Nepal? You were messaging people?
Yeah, well, I'd been messaging them before, like, emailing them. But it's not like, you know, they don't have, like, computers and stuff and Wi-Fi the way we do. Not at that time. And then there was a guy working in the hotel, and I said, do you just know anywhere that I could, like, do something? And he was like, oh, there's this place called Raksha. And I was like, and it just rung a bell. Like, it just felt like I knew that was the reason I was there. And so he called up this woman called Manuka. Right. And said, oh, there's a girl here. She's a hairdresser. She wants to come and cut.
Is she a honey?
I know, that's the sweetest honey. Yeah, she's awesome.
Sorry, I had to say it.
Yes, everyone does. Yeah, it's funny because I never really noticed that until someone pointed it out a while ago, and I was like, oh yeah, she's Manuka Honey. She is a sweetie.
Yeah.
And so I went down to meet her and learned about what she was doing with this organisation.
Okay.
And as soon as I met her, I just knew that I was going to have to play a part in that. And so a few years later, here I am, still sort of working with these kids. And
is it something that the guy sort of explained to you what it was going to be before you met Manuka, or it was?
He just sort of said, like, because you got to be careful in these like countries because there's lots of orphanages and there's lots of like places that are, you know, they're not that like true to what they say, and they're just a bit kind of shady and stuff. But for some reason, I just trusted this guy a lot, and what he was saying, because there was lots of people saying, "Oh, I'll take you to orphanage," you know, but nothing kind of felt right.
Right. Okay.
But I didn't know what they were actually doing until I met Manuka.
Right.
And she told me that, you know, she was working to sort of rescue and rehabilitate women and children that have been sort of sexually abused, exploited, and the rest as well. So yeah, some of the stories are like absolutely tragic, like beyond sort of belief.
So what was your sort of feeling when she started explaining to you what they did there?
I just felt like I needed to do something, you know,
because it's quite a heavy subject.
It's so
obviously
heavy. It's really heavy, and I just felt like I really needed to do something. And actually, like, I met the kids and I did all these haircuts and I did all this stuff, and then it wasn't until I was on the plane back home that I just burst into tears.
Okay.
And I just thought, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that that's going on. And people message me now like, oh, do this and do this, and I'm like, it's not that easy, you know. You can't change the way a whole country is, you know. And some people can't believe that, like, the kids that we're working with, the men are not prosecuted, you know, when we're talking about rape or abuse or trafficking or whatever. There's no penalties sometimes out there, or if there is, it's very light, and the men get out of jail. And so it's not as easy as just saying, oh yeah, you know, tell the police, because it doesn't work like that. So
how long were you there for at that point?
At that point, I was just there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then I like to go for a month at a time and spend some time with the kids. So, but this year I want to go and just spend like a full month just with them, because sometimes I'll nip in and out of the city and do other things. But yeah, and I often do fundraisers at this end to send money over, because they solely rely on donations from people like me. They get no help from the government.
That's
it's a
crazy.
non-profit, non-government organisation. There's no fees that go to administration and stuff out there. It's like a legit, the money goes to the children, and every time I've been there, I've seen exactly where the money's going. You know, they have better shoes each time. They get better food. Their water's cleaner. They now live in a bigger house in the mountains that's safer. They get to go to school.
That's crazy that you can't even look to your own government to sort of help you as well.
Yeah, I know. But the woman that runs it, she's making like, she's doing a lot of protests. And she's definitely making waves. Like, I really admire her.
Yeah.
Her whole life. She founded the organisation when she was 21 years old.
Wow.
And now she's the sort of mother of 60 beautiful girls who she's rescued all of them. And you know, and they all. Is
there other places that taken young boys as well that this is maybe happened to as well?
Oh,
or
we've had a few like younger boys as well, but when they get to a certain age, they can't be with the girls.
Right. Okay.
So then they have to sort of maybe go to like
really?
a boarding school. Yeah.
Wow.
It's different. Yeah. So there's no penalties if you just kind of like abuse these children, but they split the boys and girls. It's just the way it is, I guess.
So they go to a boarding school.
Yeah, like an all boys school.
But they're not sort of looked after.
No, they will be.
Okay.
Like, but just not maybe as well. But I mean, the program for what the girls like have. Yeah. So for instance, they'll like wake up in the morning and they'll do like an hour of meditation and yoga at like 5 a.m. and they'll do like an hour of like boxing and things like that for fitness, and then they'll do an hour of chanting, and then they'll go to school.
That's crazy.
And I walk them to school. So Manuka says to me, "Do you want to walk the kids to school?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she looked at my feet and she's like, "Put better shoes on." And I was like, "Where's the school?" And it's an hour trek through the jungle. We had to cross rivers. I'm not kidding, Karen. Crossing rivers, and the kids are just like an uphill in the scorching sun. And I'm like, "Do you guys do this 5 days a week?" They're like, "No, 6 days a week." And I'm like, "Really?" And there's no, they never moan about it, they're just so happy that they get to go to school.
That's the life.
So our end goal and our end dream is to build a school that these children can go to. Because quite often there's problems for the girls at school because people will say, oh, where's your parents? You know, why are you with, you know, why are you not with your mum and dad? You know, because they've all been
so they
abused
face
and stuff.
stigma even
they
like
bully,
still
bullying and things like you would hear. So some of the kids that have maybe been like, you know, bullied, they don't have parents, and so they all know that these kids are from, you know, sexual exploitation place. So we'd like to have eventually, once we get the biggest house paid off, because now they're in a big house in the mountains, it's really safe, the air's really clean, and it's really good for the girls. But we have to pay a lot of money every month for the rent and the bills and stuff like that. So once that's paid off, our dream is to build a school eventually, so that they can all go to and be safe, and like that's just such a nice goal to have.
And what happens what's the sort of aftercare when they get past a certain age, you know, where did they go from there?
Yeah, so it's up to them. I mean, if some of the girls have stayed within the organisation and they'll work within the organisation, some of the girls, they all get the chance to go to school, which so in some cases, because usually what happens with the girls is they come from really poor families and really poor villages. And what sometimes happens is they're raped from the dad or the granddad or the brother or the cousin. It's
always someone that they know.
Or a friend of a friend or something. And then what happens is the young girls will go back and tell their mother, and their mother will say like, why do you want to like tear apart the family? Sometimes the mother will want to protect them, but then the mother will get abused also. So sometimes it's best if they, you know, remove this young girl from the situation.
That's crazy.
So what can happen with Raksha is that they can rehabilitate the girls to maybe eventually go back into the village if they want to, or they can go to college and school and build themselves up to be. Some of them want to be dance teachers, lawyers, doctors, and what Raksha does is they try to empower these women to do whatever they can, you know. So
and obviously bearing in mind it's a third world country. Do they get any sort of like psychological help, or is it something that's just through the activities that
they get a lot of so I'm studying counselling at the moment because I want to be able to offer that to them as much as I can. But sometimes they do have psychologists and stuff that come in because, you know, we need to learn about how to care for the girls properly.
From their country or from a different...
it depends. Like there's people that come in from America. Like we have a lot of volunteers and stuff now. But we need to learn the best way to care for these girls. Like some of them maybe need, you know, like different kinds of therapy. So we do the best we can. So psychologists and counsellors, but they also get things like art therapy, music therapy, and the meditation and the fitness and stuff. And they've got a really strict routine, and that really helps them because it gives them that stability that they've never ever had before. So it's an amazing organisation. Like,
it sounds great.
I've had so many people like giving me shit though because they're like. One girl recently said that what I was doing was a bit sketchy because... Well,
I wanted to bring it to what you've been doing recently, obviously. Sort of tie it into that. Essentially, I think it's a young girl of 7. 7 years old. She'd sort of been... Well, you tell the story. You know, I don't know.
So, 7 years old, and her father... They come from a very poor village, and 3 of her father's friends... had said to her, because they were starving, like really, really starving, you know, they had not much food at all. And 3 of her father's friends had said, oh, we have some food, like come into the jungle with us, you know, we'll give you some fruit and things. So she went into the jungle and they raped her. The 3 of the men raped her so badly that they destroyed like her bladder, and she'll never be able to have children. And she had to get her vagina like stitched back up again. And all of her flesh basically stitched back up again. And they had beaten her so badly that they thought she died. So they chucked her into the bushes and just left her. And then her father actually found her and called, you know, for help. But the police wouldn't even really help. The police, because they're so poor, were just like, whatever. So this is where Raksha had stepped in. And I'd been speaking to them recently, and I said, you know, is there something I can do? And they were like, well, if you can, to help to raise some money for this, to cover hospital fees, to help her family. And we don't know where she's going to go yet. We might be able, I don't know if her family will be able to stay there because because what happens sometimes is the men, after they've maybe been in trouble, they want to kill the kids, or they want to come back and get them to get rid of the evidence. So this is why we have to have them in this safe house. You know, the gates are like all locked up and things. But
so where is she just now? Is she waiting for?
I think she's still in hospital.
Okay.
So
is she waiting on surgery or?
She's awaiting further treatment. So she's going to need a lot more antibiotics, medication, infection. Because like, you know, we're talking about a third world country hospital as well. It's not going to be like, you know,
sterile.
Yeah, so there's lots of other complications. So we're not entirely sure exactly what's going to happen with her because we don't know what she's going to need from us. So we Raksha might take her in to give her a better chance at a life, or we might try to help her stay with her family, and maybe we could help them move to another.
Yeah.
I don't really know that much yet. Still in kind of that critical point. But she's
still
just
up in the air.
7
I
years
know,
old,
that's
so
crazy. Like
they've not only stolen her childhood and her adulthood, they've stolen her virginity and her motherhood.
yeah,
You know, they've taken her womb away from her, and she will never be the same person ever again. Like that girl is destroyed now, and we can only hope that like the organisation I work with can do the best that they can to just help her from work with the best with what we've got.
That's crazy.
And I mean that's just one case, but there's many cases like that.
Imagine how many times it happens. Yeah, it's
some
crazy.
Some of our girls have been gang raped. Some of them, we had a little girl recently who was raped when she was 11, and she gave birth to her first child at 12, and we have the baby and her.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's very common out there, and I know it's really difficult for people to understand and believe because they've not seen it.
Yeah.
But it really is happening. You know, it's happening all the time, and you know, I did actually have people saying to me, "Oh, why don't you help people in this country?" Well, I do though. Like I do. I work with homeless and things like that. But I've been out there and I personally know this organisation. That's
I was going to say that.
Them.
That's stupid to say that to you because
but
you've travelled and had experiences with these people in that organisation, and that's why you've continued to follow doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you'd done that with say homeless people on Easter Road in Edinburgh, then that'd be the path you'd continue down.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just what you've came across, you know, and that's fallen into.
Yeah.
To say why don't you do this is just it's disingenuous, you know.
And it's funny because the people that often say that are the people that aren't doing anything for anyone.
Yes,
so it's like,
exactly.
Until you're doing that kind of the same work that I am, you know, don't criticize.
So what was it you were doing over the weekend? Obviously, you responded to seeing what this little girl had gone through, and you were kind of calling people to action to, fundraise for her.
Yeah. So again, social media, it's amazing. I just put up a post asking what I was just going to ask friends and family for help. You know, like guys, you know, can you just spare a few pounds here and there? But what's really amazing is there's some people, even kind of people that are strangers, that have donated time and time again to help with Raksha. And like it's just amazing that these people not only trust me, but that like they want to help. You know, because it is really difficult to find an organisation that isn't just bullshit. There is a lot of it, and I understand why so many people think I'm not giving my money to charity because this and that. But see, you know, if you really do want to help, there is a way to do it. There are charities out there. There really are people out there that want to help people.
Like I guess you know you're the point where that money goes to that charity, you know, and that's a good thing. Yeah.
So I mean, I managed to raise like £1,000 over just the weekend,
which
was amazing.
That's brilliant,
I know everybody just like threw money at me, and I mean I think it hit about 950, and then me and a couple of friends kind of moved up to 1,000, which is like 137,000 rupees. Are you
still doing that? Like trying
I sent that money today.
Okay.
So I mean I'm happy to like continue to raise money all the time.
Yeah.
But I think just for the urgency of this wee girl being in hospital, I just wanted to get it sent over.
Yeah.
And I would love to raise, you know, more awareness for it. I think people really do need to open their eyes and see what is going on in these other countries, because we're so privileged here that we just turn a blind eye, and you know we it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. But there's so many people out there that need some help, and not just in Nepal, like there's so many countries, and here as well. Like I work with some homeless people here, and like so many people every day just walk past. You know, like there's a guy that sits, you know, on Easter Road, and I chat to him all the time, and I'll chat to him for sometimes 20 minutes, and not one person will like, you know, care what's going on. Like he was sitting outside in the snow, and no one had stopped. I just think that's crazy. Like, I just don't understand.
I know. And we're back. Sorry for the pee break. I think that is an important issue, though, is the homelessness in the UK is something that's... It's hard to explain. I think how a country sort of or how a government thinks of its people is how they treat their homeless. I think that's one of the biggest issues in the UK is we have such an amount of homeless people, and it's unnecessary for those people to be in that position. Yeah. There are some people who they kind of try and con people and sit there and get money, and yes, they might still, claim benefits and whatnot and have a flat somewhere, but like a small percentage of what, and the population of people that are actually homeless is crazy, and especially children as well that are on the streets, and it's something that doesn't seem to be helped or treated in any way, I guess. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, I feel differently. I think sorry, if you could just come up to your mic. Okay. I think if someone's begging, that's like, better. Even if it doesn't matter what situation that they're in, but if someone's begging, then they're in a position where, life's not very good. Yeah. So I don't mind helping those people out, and I'm not the kind of person where, because I know that I've, from various homeless people that I speak to and that I've like helped with, they do, it can be quite annoying for them when people they'll go into the shops and buy them, like one guy for instance, people used to always buy him a meal deal in Tesco, right? And for some reason they'd always get him like the club sandwich, and the guy was vegetarian. Right? Like, and he said it was really hard not to be ungrateful when someone's someone's just assuming what they want. So that's saying beggars can't be choosers. Yeah, but and they can't, but like, he can't eat. Yeah, he doesn't want to eat meat, and people would, and this was a guy down in London. He was a Scottish guy actually, and he'd say like it's so frustrating that people just assume that what I want to eat. Sometimes I've been bought like 4 or 5 sandwiches, and I maybe just need money for a hostel or a new pair of socks or something. So, and I think Joe Rogan said a really good quote is like, I don't care if the money that I give to a homeless guy is going to be spent on booze or drugs, because that's what I'm spending my money on anyway. Right? Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, if a beer is going to help someone through a cold night, I don't mind if that's what they spend the £2 that I give them on. I don't know. I think there's a lot of mistrust between the general public and homeless people. I think they just assume that they're out to sort of just get one over everyone, but it's not the case. No, and it's like, and you're right about the government. Like, there's just so much. I just can't even get started on the UK government, because it's just so wrong. But then, like, it's all over the world. Like, especially like even in places like Nepal and all these like Cambodia and Vietnam, there's kids that are homeless that are like 2-3 years old. Yeah, I know. No idea where their parents are. So it's global, but I don't know. But in a country where you have a government and the infrastructure to deal with that, it shouldn't be an issue. Like, that's why it's so annoying when you're in a country that continues to fail to take care of these issues. Yeah. Then that's when it becomes sort of sad, and it's scary as well. Yeah. I remember in London I was working with a charity called Food for All. Right. And it was basically this charity that were sort of collecting supplies and stuff for the refugees in Cali and things like that. And we were being allowed to store the clothes and the supplies in the old Canadian embassy, which was on the most expensive street in London. Right. Now this it was the old Canadian embassy, so it was on like 6 floors. It was huge, lying empty when there's thousands of people homeless, needing shelter. And it was so bizarre that we're working for the poor people and we're working in one of the richest buildings in London. Yeah. And that is just so backwards. I just don't understand why someone doesn't go, hey, this building's empty, let's just I think we're in the UK, we specifically have a really sort of weird attitude to people getting something for nothing. We hate people making it. We're always sort of like trying to bring people down in that sense. Yeah. There's not any like the camaraderie that you see in maybe the States around people who are doing things, and you don't see that. There's a very individualistic attitude in the UK. Like, if you're doing something, it's on your own back, Yeah. And I think that kind of leans towards as well, when people are getting something for nothing.
Yeah.
And I think they just don't want homeless people to be getting something for nothing.
Yeah.
Which is terrible, because they're obviously in the shittest position that they can be in. You know, it's not nice for anyone to be homeless.
Yeah, and I also got some backlash when I worked at, I went over to Cali to help with the refugees.
All right, okay.
And this like local newspaper in Dundee, like the Telegraph, did like a bit about me doing that.
Yes.
Which was
is that the Tully?
The Tully. It's quite strange. They were like, they just called me up on my mobile. They were like, oh, can we run a story about you going to Cali? And I was like, sure. And then I had people messaging me saying things like, you know, why would you help these refugees? Like, why would you, like, and I was just, like, people from Dundee, you know, because it was obviously on the online thing, and they're like, why is she going and helping? And I don't even want to repeat the racism that was said, but I was just like, why would you not? Like, they were living in, like, basically, like, a sewage place with tents and stuff, and, you know, the reason that they're there is because guess who blew up their country, you know, and people don't even understand, like, why they've had to come here to seek shelter and help. But
it's strange that you would sort of go up against that backlash online, because Dundee is like the furthest away from the port where all these people come in. So you would think they would just you would just think they be more open-minded about it. But it's not. Like, these people are sort of, I don't know where it's coming from. I guess there is an attitude of, is it racism? You know, does it boil down to racism? It must be.
I guess as well, it boils down to, like, they don't have any, like, their background, like their upbringing, their education is just, it's like I said, it's that one track mind. And the
9-to-5 folks that you know
work
to go out and get lashed every weekend. You know.
Yeah, I know. But then I kind of, you know, we can't judge them either, because they just don't know yet. And I've been in that position as well. I've been that. I'm never racist or anything, but I've had that one track mind where I've just thought that was.
Sorry, I liked how you said that. It wasn't a racist or anything.
No, it wasn't. Just putting that out there. But
don't think anyone thinks that.
Good. But yeah, I think they just don't know any better. They just have no idea, and it's up to people like us to kind of maybe educate them a little bit and inspire, because, you know, the thing is, no matter what you do, right, you're going to get mocked. People are going to roll their eyes at you. You're going to get laughed at. So you be as well just doing it anyway. People will always question why you do things, even if it's really good. That's what I found. I found, like, doing really good things in the world, people will question it.
Were you not getting people sort of saying stuff to you because you were raising money for this young girl? Did I see on your Instagram you were saying people were questioning where the money was going?
Oh yeah, one girl had said that. No, she didn't say where it was going, but she said because. Okay, so the way I was raising the money was that people were sending money straight to my PayPal account, which I had set up as a charity. Okay. As a Reaction Nepal charity. And the reason that I did that was because if I use a fundraising website, which is what I've done in the past, I've used things like GoFundMe and Just Giving, and if anybody else like knows some website that I could use and they could tell me, that would be amazing. But all of these websites take a percentage of every donation that is given. So it's like, sometimes when I raised like a couple of £1,000, like hundreds of pounds were coming off.
Really?
But then the weird thing that happens is I have to transfer it to my PayPal anyway, to then withdraw it to pay it. So
they're taking more money off.
And then they take more money for the final withdrawal, and then PayPal would charge you as well for withdrawing into your account. So it just was this huge thing. So this one girl had said that what I was doing was a bit sketchy, which I understand, because as a stranger, you're not going to send money to someone random's account, right? You know. But
you're a Scottish girl. And you're doing it for some little girl that genuinely has had something happen to them.
That's what I mean. The thing is, I didn't even reply to the girl because I wasn't going to waste my energy. There's other stuff I need to do in my life. And it's like, I wondered if she thought I was making up a story about a little girl, or if she thought something else. I'm not sure. But
maybe the PayPal side of it was
I think maybe she just thought that by giving a stranger money, but the thing is,
which is the most legit form of the transaction, because it's all documented.
Exactly.
You know, if you're unhappy about sending money to you, you can call PayPal and get it dealt with.
I'm quite happy to show all the money that's come in. I can like put a receipt. I could quite happily do that. But I understand that maybe she thought by giving a stranger money, like, it seemed sketchy, which is fine. But I wasn't even asking people like her. I was asking my friends and family, the people that know the work that I do. That's who I was asking. So, but I just don't need those negative vibes. Like, it's just, there's just no need for it.
See, when you hear things like that, that kind of makes me sort of understand why there's people in the world that have like completely different point of views, even though you think it's completely just crazy.
Yeah.
If there's people that can sort of get on at you for raising money for a little girl that's been raped,
yeah,
you know, and think that the transaction's sketchy,
yeah,
there's going to be people out there that vote conservative and, you know, think that all the immigrants are the problems, you know, and all that. There's obviously that large spectrum of people.
Yeah.
And it even though it boggles my mind to think what you've sort of told me about what this girl was saying, it obviously must exist, you know, and there are just a whole different bunch of people. They're going to see things differently from anyone else.
And I mean, that's the beauty of life, isn't it? Like, everybody's different. And
the worst parts.
Yeah, I know. But I could have engaged with her, and probably the old me would have wanted to.
Told her it going bull.
I would have had to explain myself, because you know, but now I just was like, delete, and that was it. She disappeared. Just like that. And you know, that's it. I never have to deal with that again. Yeah. But so I did post a receipt of the transaction that I made today, just for anyone that did want to see, you know, where the money was going, because, you know, I did have the last time I raised money, there was a bit of like a problem, because just before I raised the money, I went to Spain and my bank card was frauded from someone in Jamaica, believe it or not.
Okay.
And so the whole time I was in Spain for those 3 months.
You sure it wasn't you?
I wish
Jamaica?
Someone was withdrawn money in Jamaica. I was like, why am I not there? But so my bank card got cut off, and because I was living in the mountains in this like off-grid, no address place in Spain, I couldn't get another bank card sent out. So there was a bit of an issue with the last transaction, but and every time I needed to use my bank card, I had to call the bank to get it unblocked. Right. Total nightmare. Wow. Anyway, I managed to get it all sent over by the time I went back. But for me, getting it sent to my PayPal, and then so today I had to withdraw the cash. Right. Then I had to walk to a Western Union, which was like, don't like, it was, my friend came with me because I was like really scared, because that's a lot of money, you know. So I was like walking to Western Union, like clutching like this like wad of cash.
Did you have some vegan pepper spray just in case?
Some anti-bacon spray. So yeah, and then we managed, and so Western Union are great because you can just do like a cash transfer, and I only got charged like £13 for this transfer
for £1,000. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so that's great. And
that in itself, like, you're trying to make this as an easy transaction so that they get the most amount of that money as well. Yeah. That's the whole crazy thing as well. Like, you're not trying to take a big slice of this. No,
nothing's coming to me. It's like, and so even if I send it like bank transfer to bank transfer, the bank actually takes so much money for doing that. So the easiest and best way for me to get the most of the money to them, like 100% of the money to them, is to do a cash transfer via Western Union, and that's the way I've always done it. Yeah. So that's the way I'll probably continue to do it, unless like when I go out there I take the money with me. Yeah. Which is another way that I could do it. So which is like really sort of sketchy as well, because you might get you might get, you know, jumped. I did that last time though. The last time I was in Nepal, I did like a fundraiser, like buy the kids a meal kind of thing, because for like a certain amount of money you could buy 70 children the meals for the whole day. Right, okay. Because we buy all the rice in bulk, the vegetables in bulk, and all that kind of stuff. So for something like £10 a day, I think you could feed all the kids 3 meals for the whole day. All the kids? How many kids? We have 60 something. For £10? Yeah. That's insane. It's cheap. I mean, it's cheap. And what we really want to be doing is now as well, they get fed amazingly though. They get really good food. Okay. It's all home cooked, like rice, vegetables. Yeah. But we want to start getting fruit into their diet as well. So we'd like to raise some more money, but you know, we've got loads of other things that we need to pay for, like the rent of the house and all that kind of stuff. So we're just keeping above water, doing the best we can. And I'll be back out there at some point this year, so I can kind of like keep everyone updated with where their money is going. And that's brilliant. Obviously you're doing something that's great, and it's obviously going to help these people in Nepal as well, you know, especially that little girl. I know. And anybody that thinks that it's sketchy is ridiculous. You should take a look at yourself. If you think it's sketchy though, it makes me think like, what what in your mind has told
Yeah.
you that if some, you know, they've obviously thought, oh, well, maybe I would do this, and this, but it's fine. I just don't even care. I don't even care anymore.
So I know you've had you've had experiences with plant medicines. I know that was something that you would maybe want to talk about as well. You know, I've had Robert on Garrett.
Oh, I love Bob.
Bob's one of my friends from a long time ago,
awesome.
and he went to Peru, I think it was. He went to Ecuador. Yeah. I always get them mixed up. We're not that good friends. I'm joking, Bob.
Don't listen to him that much.
Don't listen to this, Bob. But yeah, he had some experiences with plant medicine and trying to treat his depression.
Yeah, pretty much similar for me as well.
So where did you figure out about plant medicines, and what led you to your first experience with them?
So my first experience was like mushrooms.
Okay.
And I took them in a warehouse party in London. That was the first time I'd ever taken magic mushrooms.
Probably the least way
Probably
you
the
would want.
worst way to it was pretty good. It was one New Year. I was living in London, and one of my really close friends, Abby, said, do you want to come back to mine? And I was just going to go home. Like, I wasn't bothered about New Year. I was just going to go home. And she's like, yeah, okay, sure. So I went back to hers. We drank some wine. And she's like, I've got some mushrooms. And I was like, no, I'm not into psychedelics because I don't like being out of control and blah, blah, blah. That's
like a lot of people,
Of course, yeah. A lot of people think, oh, no, you don't have control. And
it freaks them out.
Yeah, it's fucking scary, right? But it's awesome. And so, sorry, pardon me. She sort of said, do you want to have some mushrooms? And I was like, no. A couple of glasses of wine later, I started eating all these mushrooms and just had like the best night of my life. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't anything spiritual at that point, but it did kind of awaken my love for the psychedelic sort of journey. So that's where it started, and then I really started to like research. And
did you notice anything initially when you'd taken it that first time? Like, was there a knock-on effect for your life at that point, or was it just from that one experience you felt like you'd open yourself up to them?
Yeah, there was definitely something changed in me at that point.
Okay.
Like there was a definite switch that had, like, because that was the start of like the path to veganism and all that. It started with all that, so there was definitely something in my brain that had switched, and I just wanted to explore it more. And so I started looking into things like DMT and ayahuasca, and I actually smoked some changa before I did ayahuasca, and it was with a friend.
Changa?
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
So changa is like, do you know what DMT is?
Yeah.
Smoke DMT. So changa's like a softer version of DMT. It's mixed with kind of herbs and stuff. Okay. So it's a bit of a lighter, kind of fluffier, gentle.
It's DMT and oregano. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, something like that. But it's just a bit more of a gentle kind of
lift off.
Yeah, into like a gentle rocket ship into the realm.
If there is such a thing as a gentle rocket ship.
Yeah, so I'd been dabbling around with like mushrooms. I sort of become like really interested in mushrooms because they're native medicine to our country, you know, and for a long time I kind of believed that I should just be taking the medicine of Scotland, you know, because that's where I was and stuff like that. But, you know, I managed to have this opportunity of meeting these shamans who came from the Amazon jungle over here. So I took that opportunity, and it was actually Bob that kind of got me involved with that, with those kind of guys. And the thing is, before that, there was lots of opportunities that had come up to do ayahuasca. One in London, in a church in London, like the Santo Daime kind of vibe, but it just didn't feel right. I got to the door on one Sunday morning, and I just turned around and walked back. Yeah, it just didn't feel right. Yeah, but this kind of group that I work with now, it definitely feels right, and so yeah. And then I started with a sort of ayahuasca and stuff like that.
I mean, it has like a really crazy effect on you. Obviously, it lasts. Is it like 12 hours it can last or more?
No, it's 4.
4,
like,
okay.
4. Like if you take a cup, it's usually like 4 hours. Okay. And then you can take another cup if you want and like go back in again. Yeah. But I've always had enough. By that point, I'm like, okay, I've downloaded too much information to go back there. So it just, for me, I've never had 2 cups.
And how does it work over here? I mean, there is the aspect of it where you're purging, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And do you just like sit in a toilet and...
There's no toilet. You're outside in the woods, mate.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in some guy's house.
No,
just
you're outside.
spewing in his bog.
No.
Okay.
And it's like, it's really funny because I remember before I did ayahuasca and stuff, I was thinking like, oh, I really want I really don't want to purge.
Yeah.
You know, because that's embarrassing or whatever.
It's another aspect of not wanting to let go, I guess, as well. Like if you're giving yourself up, that means you're gonna have to purge.
Oh yeah, but the purge is the best bit.
Yeah.
Because you're getting all that stuff out of
Yeah.
your body, like especially if you've been, like, for instance, if you've eaten meat and stuff like that,
Yeah.
all that stuff kind of hangs around in your cells.
Yeah.
It's a really good way of getting all of that stuff out your body, like physical and mental blockages as well.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like I kept a lot of anxiety in my back for a long time, and would always get a sore back. So, and I purged it out, and the pain just left.
Really?
Like so much
Wow.
tension just went out of my body.
So
I
it
used
was
to
obviously
suffer,
like a
yeah.
mental tension in your back,
Yeah.
maybe.
I used to suffer like really bad anxiety, like to the point where I always thought everyone was talking about me, and
Yeah.
I couldn't leave the house, and I used to take a lot of like other kinds of drugs.
Yeah. The party kind.
Yeah, but to sort of suppress grief, I'd take a lot of cocaine and stuff, and from that I just had a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And the ayahuasca helped me to completely clear all
Yeah.
of that. And so helped to remove my anxiety and helped loads of stuff. Like there's just so many things from that kind of medicine that I've had.
It is one of these types of drugs, I guess, that for someone who maybe has anxiety, there's an anxiety that comes about from trying to do it as well, I
Yeah.
guess. So
It's terrifying.
yeah.
And even now, like I've got a ceremony coming up soon. Even now I still get a bit like fearful going
Really?
into it. Yeah, because it's not for the faint of heart,
Right.
ayahuasca. It's like it's hard work.
Mhm.
You're really kind of going to the depths of like your own consciousness, like places that you don't really want to go. And I think that's why a lot of people maybe avoid therapy and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
they're scared of facing those demons and opening up and stuff like that. But it's like a fast track to
Yeah.
facing your demons, and it's terrifying sometimes, but it's also really beautiful.
Mhm.
And so
I've had some great experiences with mushrooms. That's always been my favorite. Like
I love them.
growing
yeah.
up, I think that's kind of helped me to sort of have an open mind. I
Yeah.
didn't have sort of a really sort of, I didn't have a strict upbringing. I kind of could do what I want, but I wasn't a bad kid where I would do like really ridiculous stuff. So I think on top of having mushrooms on that kind of upbringing made me just really have an open mind about everything.
Yeah.
And I'd love to. I think DMT or ayahuasca is the next step for me. I'd love to do one or the other. Have you done DMT?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
essentially. You're just ingesting it like a different way.
But the DMT is like the pure form.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of DMT in the Shakrina,
Right.
but like DMT, like if you smoke DMT,
Yeah.
it's like a fast, it's
Yeah.
15 minutes, you're in and you're out.
Mhm.
Whereas with ayahuasca, it's a much more gentle kind of falling into the trip, and you get for me, I get a lot more out of the ayahuasca
Okay.
because you're in there for 4 hours,
Yeah.
so you can like ask loads of questions, and
And you have to
can-
face your demons,
not all the time you'll face demons. Like sometimes, like for instance, I got to connect with my late father who
Right,
passed
okay.
away like 12 years ago, and
Right,
I
okay.
found out information about him and my mum that my mum no one knew,
Right.
one knew anything. So there's like
wow.
weird places I didn't even know it could do that. So
Okay.
there's stuff there's places you could go, and there's visions that I've had that have just kind of been like totally unexplainable. Smoking DMT is a very visual and kind of lovely.
Can you draw anything from it though? Is it so overwhelming that you just
Yeah, for me it is.
okay? So
Yeah.
you can't draw anything from it really.
For me, when I smoked DMT, I just had more questions.
Right, okay.
I didn't get any answers. Whereas with ayahuasca, there's a lot of answers and a lot of learning. But
It's
definitely,
funny how you can get two different experiences from one sort of drug mixed, and one's kind of mixed with something else
Yeah.
to make it sort of prolonged
yeah,
and sort of drawn out.
yeah.
And it's crazy.
they mix it. They kind of brew it with the Shakrina for like 48 hours, so that it sort of goes and it takes away the sort of, because the stomach wants to automatically break the DMT
Yeah.
down, so that stops that happening. So you kind of get this more gentle, kind of lovely
Mhm.
trip. DMT is great if you just want to like get a quick
Yeah.
kind of in and out kind of thing, but you'll definitely just have more questions
Okay.
after that.
So you would suggest doing ayahuasca first?
Right, just do both. Just do both. Like
Technically, you are.
maybe smoke DMT first.
Really? Okay.
Just to get a vibe of what you're
Okay.
going for.
Yeah.
But if you can't get DMT, like definitely just go in for the ayahuasca.
Okay.
Like I think everybody could really benefit from that kind of healing.
Yeah.
And I've done all different kinds of healing, like counseling and talking therapy. But for me, ayahuasca is like It's like 20 years of counselling in one night.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's really cool, and it helps to remove a lot of like the ego and the bullshit and the person that you think you are. You just don't.
But a lot of people are scared to get past their own ego. They think that's maybe the defense mechanism that they've set up to get them through life. And if you take that barrier down, you're kind of screwed, you know.
You still have
you
some
think
ego.
You're screwed.
Yeah, you still have some ego. Everybody needs some ego. That's what, you know, we use for judgment and stuff like that. We need it in life. But it gets rid of that, like, person who you think you are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not for everyone. I've seen people that have done ayahuasca and they're still, you know, it's not, the ayahuasca doesn't like fix everything. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it shows you like a door to walk through. Yeah. You still have to be the one. It gives you tools. Yeah. To do the garden, but you still have to do all the hard work. Yeah. You know, you still have to. It's just the way it works. So there's still.
Gives you the steroids, but you have to do the working out.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Great analogy. But yeah, it's definitely, you've still got a lot of work to do, and like you come out of ceremony and you still have to integrate all of that stuff into your life, and you have to keep on the diet and, you know, things like that.
You have to want to do it.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, you'll do ayahuasca, but then after a while you'll slip back into your old ways, and ayahuasca is a great way to sort of remind you, like, what are you doing, you know?
I think it's my sort of one of the things I want to do this summer is to take loads of mushrooms and go up Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh. I just want to go. I've heard that's a good sort of thing to do during the summer.
Yeah,
but yeah, hopefully I'll get to do DMT at some point. I mean, Bob sort of said he can introduce me to it.
I bet he can. Bob's got the contacts.
He's some guy, like he's started training for ultra marathons.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's awesome.
I think he has that mentality for that kind of type of thing, you know, like the ultra marathons. He's just got that sort of strong, doesn't really care about his body.
He's got that focus.
Yeah.
That you know, we've got the same birthday.
Me and you?
Exactly. No, me and
Bob.
Oh,
okay.
We've got exactly the same birthday. So he's like an Aries, so you've got that like super focus. Yeah. Like, you know, when you want something, you kind of make sure it happens. So when you set your heart on something, you go for it. Yeah. So yeah, he's definitely got that.
But he's I'm gonna have him back on again, and we're gonna talk about his training that he's gonna do. But supposedly he's jacked his knee, so we're just waiting until he gets back into it.
You guys should do some training together.
Well, he asked me to do it, and I was like, my back is in pain.
What happened to your back?
I think years of doing MMA, I've kind of been doing a lot of like stuff from one stance. Right. And just before I kind of went up doing a little bit of traveling again, I kind of switched my stance up a bit more, but I was getting a lot of pain. And then when I'd stopped working out and then went traveling, I was in Austria for a little bit, and then I came back and tried to do what I could do before with like weightlifting, and I really hurt my back, and it's taken me a year to get like better again. Like,
shit, so you really like messed up.
Yeah.
Did you get some physio and stuff? I
went to the chiropractor. 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 Yeah. I can say it. I'm not retarded. I didn't like it. I didn't like there's something about chiropractor. Oh God, I can't even say it. So why should I go?
About those guys.
Those guys, I didn't like them. There was just something weird about it. But I went to the osteopath. Same again. Didn't really do much for me. Okay. So I guess it's one of these things that's probably hard to describe to people what's actually wrong with me. Yeah. Like, I can only say like it's in my sort of middle hip area, which is either my back hip or my front hip. It's hard to describe. So basically I've been getting, I've just been lifting, like doing strength work with weights, and my girlfriend's standing on my back every night, and it seems to be helping.
Awesome. Getting all that tension out of there.
But I'll have to start getting her to put some weights on.
Why don't you get like a deep tissue or something?
I had one terrible experience with a massage.
Oh dear.
She just spoke to me the whole time. Oh, okay. And she only did my back. And I was like, I'm not paying for that again. So I just never went for another massage. Okay. But yeah, I know there's like legit ones out there.
It might be good to maybe get some.
Maybe that's all I need is like a really sort of deep tissue massage, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. And yeah, have you been still working out? I know you were really into your weights for a while.
Yeah, I used to train for like aesthetic reasons, like to look a certain way, but I train now, but it's just, I really need to do it for my mental health. Because I just, I go really up and down. Like I go in and out of depression a lot,
Yeah.
and I get really, really low and really hard on myself. And I guess just because a lot of things that have situations that have happened in life,
Yeah.
so they kind of weigh me down. But I've realised that if I lift weights and just sort of train like that,
Yeah.
it just makes me feel better.
Mm.
I tried to be like that hippie and get into all the yoga and stuff, and it's just not my medicine.
You're not a yoga person.
I like doing it sometimes,
Yeah.
but I'm not the kind of person. I'd rather go to the gym and like just pick heavy shit up
Yeah.
and throw it back down again. That's
Yeah.
just that's what I like to do. You know, I like to push things around and
Yeah.
smash things around. And
That's funny. Yeah.
That's what I like. That's what I prefer. So
I was going to assume that you just did yoga, and then I was like, oh no, you don't like doing that, so it's
like
fine.
I don't mind. I do a bit of it after I do.
I like it.
Weights, like
I like it.
yeah.
But there's a lot of sort of technique to it as well, and it
Yeah,
takes
you
a
gotta
lot of
do it
time
right,
to develop it. Even the core strength to do all those moves
Yeah,
as
it's
well. It's like
amazing.
amazing. The
Yeah.
isometric holds, but it takes like you have to do it like for a good year to get really good at it, I guess.
Yeah. And I really admire people that are like good with yoga, but for me it's just too slow, and
Yeah.
I prefer like that kind of intense,
Yeah.
you know, thing. And I do some yoga, like I do yoga after I train.
Yeah.
Usually I do like a quick 15 minutes or something, but I much prefer that kind of fast, intense
Yeah.
pace. Like that's just
And
what I prefer in life as well.
And it's like however much you put into it is directly what you get out of it. I guess with
Yeah,
weights, you
yeah.
know, you can go crazy, you know,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
feel like it, because you can hardly go crazy at yoga if you need it, you know.
Because they're really fast.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably just about us.
Yes.
And I mean, it's been great having you on,
Yeah,
Laurie.
thanks
And
for having me.
so if people want to contribute to you and, you know, in this charity organization, what is the name actually?
So you can donate right through Raksha Nepal's website if you want to.
And how do you spell
It's
Raksh?
RAKSHA
Okay.
Nepal.org.
Yeah.
And you can donate. There's a donate button on the page. Or yeah, you can probably just do that if you want. Or
And-
I mean, you can send it to my PayPal and I
Okay.
can cash transfer it, which is fine. But it's kind of what I usually do for sort of friends and family
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
And it'd be great if anyone's listening, obviously, to donate to this organisation, because it seems like something that's actually directly helping people, which you don't see a lot with
Yeah.
charities. You know, there's a lot of spiel with, you know, cancer research that they only have to give 1% of their
Yeah.
take-ins, and when you're directly working with one person,
Yeah.
then obviously there's less room for error, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of these charities, they have administration fees
Yeah.
and like organised fees and blah 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 and all this stuff where, you know, money's just going in
Yeah.
the man's pocket. But with Raksha, it's like non-government, non-profit organisation, so no one's making any money out of it.
Yeah.
It's just going directly back into the organisation for food and clothes and rent and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a really good way to help people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to follow you on whatever social media that you like to be
Social
followed
medias.
on.
I usually just go via Instagram.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Lolo Sutherland.
Although Sutherland. Okay, thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
so much. Yeah.
Ciao.
Awesome.